Welcome to the Be Mindful podcast. I am your host, women's mindset and manifestation coach, Rachel Rosal Torrio. If you are interested in manifestation, personal development, or spirituality, you have came to the right place. This podcast was created with the intention to help you become mindfully aware of how you think, what you speak, and what you believe, because who you are from within is what you will attract from the out. Let's begin. Hi there, beautiful souls. Welcome back to the Be Mindful podcast. On today's episode, we are going to be talking about building self-trust. This topic came to mind recently because I've really been working on trusting myself and trusting my abilities and just trusting that everything is working out in my favor. And for us to perform our best, we have to trust in ourselves. We have to trust that we can do it. The last few years, I have built so much trust with God and always ask Him for help. But I think it's also taught me to really learn how to trust in myself too, that I can lean into God, you lean into the universe and ask for help, but also trusting that the actions I take, I'm still going to be able to get whatever I want, still be able to be there for myself. And I know that this is something that a lot of people struggle with. We sometimes get imposter syndrome. We sometimes doubt our abilities, and we question if we're ever going to achieve our goals. I finally really, truly understand what it's like to lean into that trust and be okay with not knowing exactly how it's all going to work out. And every time I've done that, especially the moments where I can choose to freak out, but instead I chose to lean in to trust in myself and in God that everything's working out, it does end up working out. That is just proof right there over and over again that it's like a little test for us, a test to show us, okay, how much faith do you really have in yourself? And how much faith do you have that God, the universe, your angels, everyone supporting you in the background is really having your back? And over, the more you lean into that trust, you will see that everything really is working out for you. And sometimes it doesn't look like it's working out. Sometimes something happens in your life where you're like, what the heck? This is not happening right now. What is going on? It's not going according to plan, but really it's probably happening because it really is in your favor in the long run. It probably is happening because it really is best for you, but you can't see it in that very moment. And building that self-trust really does take time. So we're going to talk about that today. I'm going to give you a few steps on how you could start building that trust, building that confidence within yourself, and knowing that you are capable of achieving all that you want. You are capable of creating your dream life. So the first tip to building that trust within yourself is really having self-compassion and understanding your daily inner dialogue. The routines and the habits that you have really form your personality. And so let's start with habits. Habits, for example, can be the way that you think. It's so habitual that you don't even realize that you're thinking a specific way. I was very negative and I didn't realize it. Every single time something bad happened to me, I just assume, oh, of course it happened to me. Anytime I didn't do as well as I wanted to on a test or didn't accomplish what I wanted, but I still did fairly well, I didn't congratulate myself. And I did find myself often very sad because I wasn't happy the way I looked. I didn't feel confident in my work ethic. I didn't feel good about myself overall. But yet I was going to a very well-known university, and I was also taking very difficult classes because my degree was biopsychology. So I did have to take organic chem, I had to take physics, I had to do all those fun classes. And yet I still was doubting my abilities even though I got into that school. What I'm trying to say is that I was just so negative that I didn't realize that thinking negatively was actually a habit. And because our routines and habits form our personality, it impacts who we are day to day. So I wanted to share with you a few of my favorite affirmations that have really helped me over the years slowly build that self-trust. One of my favorite affirmations is, if I keep going, I'll only get better. This is so true. And anything that we do, if we continue to practice, we're obviously going to get better and better. And if we keep going, we can't fail. So that's my next affirmation. It's if I never stop, I'll never fail. Repeating this to yourself is how you're going to create new healthy neural pathways. So I'm going to go into a little of the neuroscience of this. This is the fun part. This is where my transformation honestly really began, when I started to really understand the science that connects with our own mental health. So as I always say, affirmations can be very, very powerful. And that's why I wanted to share a couple of the affirmations that have really helped me. So imagine repeating to yourself, if I keep going, I'll only get better. If I never stop, I'll never fail. And another one that I like, it is possible if I believe it's possible. So imagine today you start saying these affirmations to yourself. It's very new to you, it feels uncomfortable, but you start it anyways. Once you start this new thought, it's going to create a new neural pathway. So there are these nerve cells within our body called neurons, and neurons that wire together fire together. So when you think a thought over and over and over, you are sending that message throughout your body. So when you're constantly doubting yourself, you're sending those messages throughout your body, which is why it creates your actual behavior. Your repeated thoughts become your beliefs, and your beliefs become your behavior, and your behavior creates your result. And that's exactly why your thoughts can have such a big impact and can actually be habits that you are not consciously aware of. And I understand that affirmations can be very uncomfortable at first. I understand that it may sound weird at first, but the more you repeat them and you allow yourself to be open to that new belief, that's not going to be a thought anymore. It's eventually going to become a belief. And because it's going to become a belief, you're going to send messages. Those neurons are going to send messages throughout your body, helping you create the behavior and then having the result. And this is all connected to building self-trust, because what you think of often becomes your belief. So have self-compassion towards yourself and understand the thoughts and the emotions that's really happening in your body. That's where you can start having that awareness. I always say awareness is the first step, because it truly is. You can't unlearn things without being aware of what needs to be changed. Another way that you can build self-trust is simply from experience. So for example, let's say you want to start creating TikTok videos. Every time you turn on the camera, your words fumble, you don't know what to say, and you go on with this fear within yourself. And because you have that fear, it's been preventing you from really starting. Now, if you really want to build your self-trust, you have to get out of your comfort zone. You have to do things that you're not comfortable with. And repetition is key. A lot of people have came up to me and told me, Rachel, I don't know how you do it. How do you get on camera and have so much confidence? How do you just talk in front of it? How do you talk in front of people? I've felt the exact same way before. It has taken me so much time to build the confidence to be in front of the camera and speak to someone that's not technically there in front of me. It has also taken me time to talk in front of an entire audience. I've done it many times now, so I'm still nervous when I go up there, but because I have chose to put myself in uncomfortable situations, like being in front of people, it has really helped me build the confidence to do it often, and it's also because I'm doing it repeatedly. There are so many different areas in our life where I could be confident in one thing and you probably are confident in another. If you want to build self-trust when it comes to something specific, then it's time to ask yourself, okay, what can I do that is going to help me lessen that fear and really trust that I can do this? So for example, I have had the goal to launch a podcast for a few years now. And through repetition, I'm starting to feel a little bit more comfortable creating my podcast and having a camera stare at me while I'm doing this. And I'm also learning to be better with setting up my little podcast mic I have as well. I'm just learning as I go. To sum it all up, to build that self-confidence, it really is repetition, consistency, and experience. And even if it's not perfectly consistent, it's okay. All that matters is that you show up for yourself. And the more you show up for yourself, the more you will build that self-trust within you. And that's another tip I want to share with you today. I heard this on an old podcast episode with Ed Milet, where he said, in order to build trust within yourself, you have to keep the promises you make to yourself. So I told myself that I want to post on this podcast every other week. That is my promise to myself. And if for some reason I don't, that's okay. I'll just take a step back and I'll look at my last 2 weeks before and ask myself, what did I do that prevented me from showing up for myself? Is there anything that happened in my life that is an actual reason why I couldn't show up? Or am I making excuses? Get real with yourself, right? Keeping those promises to yourself is really important because over time you will see the amount of times that you did show up for yourself, especially if you're working on a project. If you told yourself you want to do something, do it. But ask yourself why. What are your intentions anyways? Why do you want to do this? Because if you are not fully in it, then you're not going to show up for yourself. And speaking about showing up for yourself, not just for your goals and your dreams, but also just taking care of yourself. That is self-trust. So your health, your mental health, your physical health. How are you showing up for yourself today? What boundaries are you setting up for yourself as well? So for example, we're in the month of September and I personally think that I overbooked myself a little bit. And because I have a full-time job, I also have this podcast. I also create journals. I also am a mindset coach. I have a lot of things that I got to do. And it's important for me to really take a step back and recognize where is my energetic capacity? How much energy do I have to do all of these things? And am I allowing myself to have a break? Am I allowing myself to feel 100%? So what are you doing to fuel your cup? Choosing to take care of yourself is another way that you can build trust for yourself, especially when you are taking care of yourself physically and mentally. An example of taking care of yourself is also just acknowledging what are your needs, identifying what are your needs. Taking care of ourselves really builds trust because you are choosing to acknowledge your own needs. What are the things that light you up? What gives you joy? What makes you feel good? And what are the things that don't? Is it specific foods that you eat that make you feel a little meh? Is there specific habits that make you feel really meh and weigh you down and upset you? Are there specific thoughts? So really acknowledging, what do you need? What fuels you so you can show up fully? So I know there were a lot of things that we talked about on this episode for building trust. So let's quickly go over them really quick. The first one I recommended is really having self-compassion, recognizing your inner dialogue. So really start working on those affirmations and say them daily. I know I talk about affirmations a lot, and it's because I truly believe in them. They are so powerful, and you really are making an actual impact to your long-term health. Your thoughts affect your emotions, and your emotions is how you're going to perform and behave in this outer world. And that's why I'm so passionate about this, because the way we think daily impacts our overall stress. So imagine if you took control now and really became aware of those daily thoughts, because you're no longer stressing about doubting yourself and your abilities. You are instead being your biggest cheerleader and giving yourself self-compassion. The second thing I talked about is your experience. Making sure that you get out of your comfort zone and really show up for yourself, whether that's your goals, your dreams, or just trying to build a skill. That is the only way you're going to start building trust in specific areas of your life. So you can start that today and take it one step at a time. Another thing we talked about is keeping your promise to yourself. So if you want to do something, do it. You don't have to be an expert. You don't have to be perfect. Just try. That's all you got to do. And the last and most important thing I mentioned was choosing to take care of yourself. When you choose to take care of yourself daily, you will feel confident. You will feel good about yourself because you are taking care of yourself. But like I said, create a list and really ask yourself, like, what are the things I do and don't want? So if you want to start moving your body and you want to take care of yourself physically, what do you need? What works for you? Don't do anything that you hate. If you hate doing cardio, don't do that. Do whatever feels right to you. I always say that. Building your self-trust takes time, especially if you have been living in this mindset of negativity, but it doesn't mean that it's not possible for you to change your mindset and really believe in yourself. Everyone is at a different pace. Some people get it faster than others. Some people don't. I just want you to know that at the end of the day, you are capable of creating whatever you want in this life. And building that self-trust is what's going to get you there. All right, beautiful souls, that is the end of today's episode. I hope you enjoyed. If you have any recommendations of any other topics you want me to talk about, feel free to message me on Instagram or shoot me a comment on my TikTok post or send me an email, whatever works for you. And as always, don't forget to be mindful, because who you are from within will only attract from the out. I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.